what is life? It's a pretty important question because we're a living thing. We're surrounded by living things. Our family's living things. There's other living things going on. It's a hard question to answer. In fact, scientists don't really have a single answer. This is life. Instead, what scientists have done is they've looked at living things and they said, okay, what are the characteristics that living things have? Because how do you distinguish between something that's alive and something that's not alive? Because sometimes you get certain things that kind of appear sort of like they're alive, like a crystal. It grows, but it doesn't really have all the characteristics of living things. Or fire, it uses energy, but it doesn't have all the characteristics of living things. And so here are the characteristics of living things. I do want to mention that this list is slightly different than the text reading that you've got, just a little bit. But let's kind of launch into it. So, in order to be alive, something has to have each of these characteristics. And these are the things that make something basically alive. Okay? So, write this down. The title is The Characteristics of Living Things. And again, what we're trying to distinguish is how do you tell the difference between a living thing, like a plant or an animal, or by the way, a protist is a single-celled organism, or a fungus like a mushroom or bacteria, right? They're alive. Or non-living things like the soil, the air, the minerals, light, water. Those are non-living things. And both living and non-living things will appear in ecosystems. So it's important to kind of distinguish between them so you can kind of recognize that. And so what we're going to do here is go through a list of what characteristics of living things. And so I want you to write on your paper, all living organisms, ... And then we're going to fill in the list that would complete that sentence. Okay? And so I'm not going to make you write down all living organisms over and over again. So you can put them like bullet points. But these are important characteristics that living things have. You should have that written down, all living organisms. If you don't have it, pause the video, write it down, get your paper, set it up. As the title is The Characteristics of Living Things, all living organisms is where you start. To be honest, when I teach this lesson in the classroom, I like to have like a drum roll, for each one. But I don't know how we could do that in an online video. Okay, so I will just say, all living organisms, boom, are made of cells. Please write that one down. Now, being made of cells, this is something that, isn't entirely obvious until they invented the microscope. But this is really one of the most astonishing things about life and about our cells. If you really think about, golly, we are made of trillions of individual living units. Each cell is alive. Yes, they're genetically related to the others and function together. And next week, or the next lesson, is going to be kind of about that. You guys, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, you didn't really get the cells learning that you would have been getting in 6th grade ordinarily. So I'm going to just do a quickie lesson about cells next time because it's pretty amazing. But all living things are made of cells, individual, tiny, so small you can't even see them. And that would include things that are multicellular, like our cells, made of trillions of cells, or something that's just made of a single cell, right? Like a paramecium that swims around. It's so small you can't see it. I wish we could be in the classroom to use microscopes, but oh well. Yeah. Okay, so that's one of the characteristics, made of cells. All living organisms, boom, they grow, reproduce, and eventually die. That is, they have a life cycle. Again, if it's white, you got to write. If it's yellow, I'm not going to make you write it all over again here. So just write down the white part. Make it like a bullet point if you like. But all living organisms grow, reproduce, and eventually die. So this is something that's just, it's the truth about how life works, and we might as well accept it. You start out as a single cell and you develop in the mother's womb and then you're a baby and then you grow and you're a kid and then you grow and you're a grown-up and then you become an old person and then, sorry, it's temporary when nobody gets out alive. And so it's, it's always sad and tragic when it happens. It's no doubt about that. But it's the way it works, that we have a certain life cycle and how life works on this planet is it replaces itself through reproduction. So you have a generation that's alive now replacing itself with the next generation, which will replace itself with the next generation. And that's how life works. There's no living organisms that are just immortal. Okay? And whether you're a plant or an insect or a human being, uh, living things have a life cycle. Okay? And so that's one of the things.